Welcome back, my friends and neighbors, to the 52 Weeks podcast, brought to you live in the 52 Weeks studio, where the fire of financial ruin is real and your income is simply not enough to save you. Brought to you by yours truly. All that and more in today's episode. Okay, so let's see. If you've been following along to this point, then you realize that we've kind of set the stage for a life of financial ruin. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, let's set the stage here. And I want to talk to everybody, but especially those that find themselves middle-aged, maybe even older. And you've got all this debt, maybe a car payment, a mortgage, credit cards, maybe some personal loans, all that mounding up to X amount of dollars, okay? A year ago, that amounted to $60,000 or $70,000 worth of debt for me and my family. Since then, in the past year, I've worked really hard. We've all worked really hard, and we've been able to pay off $30,000 to $35,000 roughly, which don't do the math too tightly, but right now we have around $40,000 worth of debt. Okay. A little bit of that money was buying a car for my wife that she needed, but we did that with cash, and it was a $6,000 car. Okay. So last week I introduced the book that began to reshape my financial life. Okay. I had never gotten wisdom like this before. And sadly, it took until I was probably around 30 years old, maybe even older, before I found this. But laying on somebody's table, I found Dave Ramsey's Complete Guide to Money. And let me tell you, if you haven't already bought this book, this is a free plug for Dave because I'm too small of a channel for them to sponsor or anybody to sponsor right now. If you haven't gotten this book, go out and get it. I don't know what it is. See if there's a price. No, it's probably like $20, although they might be having their Black Friday sale right now or not. Well, probably not. But anyway, just go and buy it. Let me set the stage for you of where I was when I found this book and why I picked it up off the table and began to read it. Okay. And I didn't act on it right away. I should have, but I didn't. Like I did a little bit, but anyway. I was in my early 30s. I was making like $45,000 a year. I had a house payment, which I still do. And I had credit cards. Yes, I did. And I had probably some personal loans, car payments, just like everybody else, right? It was miserable. I did not have enough money every month to get ahead. I didn't even have enough money to heat my house. I don't know. I had to work extra. I got some help, but it was really rough. And so I realized that I had put myself here with debt, but I didn't know any other way. So I picked up this book and I began to read it. And there's a plan in there called the Baby Steps. And we're going to go over a few of the beginning baby steps today. And I want to share with you my failure of reading those baby steps and starting to act on it and starting to make a change in my finances, in my family's finances, but just not enough. Absolutely not enough. Some of the things that stopped me, some of the things that made me turn around and go backwards so that you can avoid them in your life. I'll tell you what to watch out for, some things that really nabbed me. The first thing that I have to say is if you've just gone and bought this book before finishing my podcast, then you're in a really good situation, I hope. Because not a good financial situation, but you've realized that your situation is incredibly urgent, okay? Recognizing the urgency of your financial dumpster fire behind you is super important because then and only then you may find the motivation to change your behavior. This isn't about math. You'll hear me say over and over again, it is proven This is not about math. Your bad finances has nothing to do with math. Okay? Even a child can understand if you want to buy a $10 toy, but you only have $5, you're not getting the toy. It's just the math doesn't work. However, behavior will cause that child to throw a fit and rant and rave and scream and cry, hoping that the adult in the room will give them the extra $5. Now, let's say the adult in the room represented the bank, okay? Every kid thinks their parent is an endless bank. I used to, I still do. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. But I used to, when I was a kid, think they were an endless bank, okay? And I would ask for things and everything else. I was a little smarter than to throw a fit, but I'm sure I did occasionally. In fact, I'm positive I did. The reason that they go to their parents to help them get that toy anyway is because they know their parents, they think their parents have endless money to give them without a thought in the world of how they're going to repay it. In fact, most kids probably, when I was a kid, I didn't give any thought towards how I would repay my parents. No, I just wanted them to give it to me. That's not a math problem. That's a behavior problem. Adults are no different. So when I talk about recognizing the urgency of your situation to get the motivation in order to change your behavior, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's say you want to go out shopping, or let's say you have an emergency, okay, and something breaks, your car breaks, or your heater breaks, or, your hot water heater breaks, just something in your house or your life breaks, and you suddenly need $1,000 or $2,000. What do we do? Well, how many people can cover that from a savings account that doesn't exist? I can't, not right now. Now we're going to get into that. And you say, well, you're doing a financial podcast of how you're getting out of debt, but you can't cover $1,000 emergency, Well, I mean, yes, I can. I just did today. I spent $1,200 to fix my car with cash, which is why right this second I can't cover another $1,000 emergency. But I am going back to work to replenish that ASAP. So before I get off track and go down a rabbit hole, I would say most people that I talk to can't cover, a $2,000 or $3,000 emergency. Okay, so what happens? You panic. What's that? Is that math? No, that's not math. It's behavior. You panic, and then you say, okay, take a deep breath, go online and get a loan for $2,000 or $3,000. It's not that much. It's like, I don't know, a $50 a month payment, just pulling that out of the air for 3 years, whatever. Okay, let's do that. Cool. Now we have a new fridge. Okay, your fridge breaks. A fridge is a good one. It just popped into my head. We had this happen a little while ago. Now, let me tell you how most people handle it that I talk to. They say, oh, their fridge breaks. You don't want all your food to go bad. Okay, so we need to replace it. So what do? We go to the store. And do we get a fridge just like it? No. Let's say the fridge you currently owned cost you $1,000 back in the day, and to replace it, it's $1,000, okay, for that fridge. But you go there and you see, ooh, I can get a good deal, and for only $2,500, I can get a fridge that has an ice maker and a water dispenser and a computer on the front to keep track of my groceries. What do you think you do? You've gone out and you've gotten a personal loan for $3,000 so that you can take care of this. And you go and buy the fridge for $2,500. How many of you have done something like that? I have. Okay. Let me give you 2 examples of me personally, my family. A few years ago, our hot water heater went kaput. Okay, or it was going kaput. It was leaking, and it was like, oh man, I got to replace this, or we're going to end up in a situation without hot water. Now, the electric hot water heater I had is about $300 or so at Home Depot. $300 will replace it. Do you think I did that? No. I had been eyeing this hybrid hot water heater that's electric, but it has a heat pump on top of it, And if you know anything about heat pump technology, it will save you a little bit of money. Okay, a little bit of money. If you live in Florida, it'll save you a lot more money because it depends on the outside temperature being warmer rather than colder. But anyway, that hot water heat pump water heater, the hybrid thing, was about $1,500. That's 5 times more expensive than what I needed. And I told myself that it was going to pay for itself in X amount of months, which is a lie. It's a big, fat, ugly lie. And I'll tell you why later. But I went and I borrowed some money and I bought that stupid thing. Now, it works good. It does work good, and it's okay. It probably saves us maybe 25, 30 bucks a month, which is nothing. It's more of a hassle than anything. It's got extra moving parts that can break. Don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. But I went for the extreme upgrade that I couldn't afford. Could I have gone to Home Depot that night and spent $300 cash to replace what I had and have it work good? Yes. Yes, I could. But I didn't. I went into debt. Fast forward, I don't know, 2-3 years, bring you more to the present day. Our refrigerator that we had died. It was a terrible design. It imploded to the point where I couldn't fix it. I'm all about fixing stuff, but I couldn't fix it. Well, did I go, and that thing was like a $2,000 refrigerator. Well, what did I do? I realized I didn't have the cash to afford a refrigerator. So I went out to my barn where I had an old Whirlpool or Kenmore, whatever it was, nothing special fridge freezer. But it worked. I had bought it on Facebook Marketplace, I think, for like $150 years ago. I was going to turn it into a farm fridge and sell vegetables out of it. In one of my many business ideas, but I didn't. And so it was sitting there. It had a big old mouse nest in it. It was kind of gross. So I brought it inside. I took it apart. I cleaned it out. I disinfected it, and we plugged it in, and we are using that today. $2,000 refrigerator versus $150. That's what I did. My dryer broke. No. My washing machine. My washing machine recently, like a year ago, finally went kaput. I had put a new transmission in it. I had replaced parts. I had worked on that thing for a long time, and it finally just, nope, absolutely not. It corroded and everything. So again, I went out to my barn and I found a nothing special Whirlpool mechanical, no computer, nothing special. I think I said that already. Washing machine that I had planned on turning into a commercial salad spinner, again for farming, that I wasn't doing anymore and didn't ever really. Thankfully, I never did, so I hauled that into the house, disinfected it, cleaned out the mouse nests, and we're using it to this day, and man, that sucker cleans the clothes good. Nothing special about it. And it cost me a whopping $50 when I bought it used. Do you see a pattern here? None of those to me were math decisions. They weren't. There was no math involved. It was behavior. Okay? It was behavior. I wanted to go buy an expensive fridge on credit. I wanted to go buy a rocket ship of a washing machine on credit. But I said no. No. I am done making stupid decisions. We are done. We're going to use what we have. And thank goodness my wife is on board. And she's like, yep, that sounds like a good idea. It was a behavior. Yes, the math said, no, I can't afford it. But my behavior actually made the decision. And with that, as one heck of an intro, just kidding, let's get into what those baby steps actually are, okay? In case you haven't bought it yet or forgotten it, go and buy Dave Ramsey's Complete Guide to Money. I don't get any commission on this. I don't have a discount for you. Just go and pay for it. It's worth it. Okay, let's get into it. So years ago, I sat down and just saw this thing when I was in financial crisis. And I opened it up and started reading the baby steps. Okay. This is how you get out of debt and build wealth. And we're only going to hit the first couple. And I want to tell you why it's taken me so long, why I'm not building wealth, um, say 10 years later. Okay. Um, and I'll skip ahead and give you a hint. It's behavior. But why? And how can we guard against this behavioral monster? Because we're just a kid kicking and screaming in the store that wants the bank of mom and dad to buy us that toy. So, if you find yourself in an insurmountable amount of debt and your income is simply not enough to make a difference, then stop and take a deep breath. And baby step number one to get out of this mess is put $1,000 in your savings account. Now, Dave Ramsey talks about this like there's a dumpster fire underneath you, behind you, like this one here, okay? He says to start selling so many things that your animals think they're next to put this $1,000 emergency fund away, okay? Let me tell you why. It's behavior, okay? Why do we, I don't have credit cards. Why does anybody have a credit card? Why? You think, well, maybe there's only $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 limit on it, but you say, hey, if anything bad happens, I know I can swipe this thing and I've immediately got a buffer. But what do you also have? You swipe that sucker and you have a debt. You swipe it again, you have another debt, and your debt grows as fast as you can swipe that stupid thing. And credit card debt is some of the worst. It's proven. It is some of the worst. High interest. They absolutely just get you. They get you to the point where your monthly payment is so low that the interest is growing faster than you can pay it off. And the balance just keeps going up and up and up and up and up past your limit. And then you're just stuck, So it's behavior. You put $1,000 in a savings account and you don't touch it unless your fridge breaks, unless your dryer goes out, unless your hot water heater goes out. Okay? No, $1,000 is not enough. No, it's not. But it is enough to give you enough of a buffer to be able to cover a small emergency. And then if you have to do extra, you don't go into debt. You go back to work. You're going to hear me talk about going back to work and working extra a lot, okay? So, as fast as you can to get away from that feeling of, oh, the credit card is my buffer, you put $1,000 in a savings account, okay? Once you do that, you look at that $1,000 and then you get out a pair of scissors or shears and you chop those credit cards in pieces. Okay? If you want to get out of debt, even if you feel hopeless, and even if the math says, okay, the math is going to say your income isn't high enough to help you. Your behavior is automatically going to say, well, what's the point in trying? I might as well just stay in debt. And in fact, I'm going to go get another credit card or a personal loan right now. And your behavior keeps you there. But what if you changed your income? I just changed my income. I went from working 36 hours a week to 60 hours a week. Is it fun? No, it's not. Is it worth it? Yes. My behavior would keep me from working extra. But changing that behavior means I can go back to work and work extra. The work is there, and the work is there for you too. You just have to decide that you're going to get up and you're going to force yourself into a hard situation, and you're going to experience the pain of working extra to increase your income. Okay? As soon as you increase your income, that whole your income is simply not enough to save you thing goes away. You can't use that as an excuse to stay in debt and get in more debt, behavior, your depressed behavior over your miserable situation of having to live next to a dumpster fire with an ugly mole on your head that moves around every episode. Your depressed behavior will keep you in debt and keep you financially ruined. Okay, so we increase our income. We get $1,000 in our savings account as fast as possible. And then we say, I don't need these credit cards as a buffer anymore. And honestly, there is no other excuse to keep them around. There isn't. So chop them up. And then you won't be able to use them. Chop them up, or you won't be able to stop using them. Do you know what alcoholics do in order to stop drinking? They make sure they are never around it. And then they gather together for regular meetings and they encourage each other and hold each other accountable to never drink again. Drug addicts will do the same thing if they're serious about quitting, and so will smokers. Don't keep it around. Obviously, everybody knows that. Credit cards are no different. Chop them up. It's the best feeling you will ever have. Once you do it, there's a certain amount of commitment to never going back. Chop them up, baby. Baby step 2 is pretty simple. You start paying off your debt. And remember, you don't have that low income or I don't make enough to make a difference excuse anymore. Because now you're working a second job. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's waiting tables at a restaurant, if it's working at Walmart or Target or TJ Maxx. I don't care. I went and got a per diem job on an ambulance after I had left the ambulance and vowed never to go back for very good reasons. I decided I can do an extra 12 to 24 hours a week on the ambulance. I can do that. And I am right now. I just finished week 3. And you know what? I'm starting to get into a groove and it's not so bad. I can do this for a year. 1 year will get me debt free for my interest bearing debt, which is about $40,000. Okay. So, but baby step 2, paying off all your debt. Ramsey's put it simply, it's called the debt snowball, and they recommend taking your smallest debt and paying it off as fast as possible. Forget interest rates. Nobody cares. The math isn't worth it. Remember, this isn't a math problem. For all those people saying, you need the avalanche method, and you need to pay off the highest interest rate first. Okay. The reason they say that is because of math. But as I have clearly laid out for you, math isn't your problem. Behavior is. And behavior was certainly my problem. And it still is. Which is one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast. So that every week I can come here and say, hey, I just worked another shift on the ambulance. I'm keeping good behavior. I'm making sure that I'm staying motivated to have good behavior to keep paying off this debt. The reason we say to do the smallest debt first is because you need a win. Dave Ramsey says you need quick wins in the beginning to jumpstart your new behavior. You've decided that your situation is urgent enough and you're sick and tired of that dumpster fire, okay? You're sick and tired of living like Hank the homeless man here with that ugly mole that keeps traveling around your face. You're there. You're ready to change your behavior. The first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to go down the right path. You're going to put that $1,000 in your savings account and you're going to be proud. You're going to be like, yeah, I did it. You're going to chop up those credit cards and realize it's not scary. It actually feels good. It feels really good. And once you do it, you will never get another one. You will never get another one. But you have to do it. You've done that. Okay, good. Maybe you're like, okay, we got the extra job. We sold some stuff. We got the extra job. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, what's next? I'm going to tell you what's next. The next thing is going to be your behavior is going to take a turn for the worse. You're going to get depressed. You're going to get discouraged. You're going to realize, you know what? For a million different reasons, I can't physically do this. I've marched it out. I need 1 year of working really hard. Maybe 2 years. Maybe 3 years, but at that point, I don't think you're working hard enough. I think you can do something else. So 1 to 2 years of working really hard to pay off your debt. You're instantly going to get discouraged right when you begin to pay off the smallest debt, which is why we need to get you paying off that debt fast. I don't care if it's $1,000 debt or if it's a $500 debt remaining. Pay it off and see it disappear. That will help reinforce and recharge your motivation to keep this newfound good behavior. The behavior that says, I can do. It's like the little train, I think I can. No, there's no thinking involved here. The more you think about this, the more you're going to come up with excuses. The more you're going to have all these intruding thoughts, which is a discussion in and of itself. But the more you're going to have all these intruding thoughts that say, I can't. My body hurts. I can't do it. I can't. My mental health is suffering. Let me tell you what. Your mental health will suffer if you don't take care of yourself. Part of taking care of yourself is getting rid of this debt. When you pay off a debt, your mental health will get a little positive kick. That's good. That's good. Let me tell you what. When I paid off, what was it? Like a $15,000 loan last year or this past year, I was like, wow, yeah, that's good. I paid off like $20,000 in one swing. Just the nature of the extra work I was doing. It was contract work and I got paid all at once, for a bunch of work. And so whammo, I just sent it after taxes. I sent it right towards a couple debts. Boom, gone. And I saw their payments disappear off my budget and it felt so good. But let me tell you something. When it came later on, almost a year later, when it came to paying off a small $3,000 student loan that I wasn't even making payments on, I didn't get to see any payment drop off my budget. But I sat there and I said, okay, I have spent years not following the Dave Ramsey plan, going through it, making some progress, getting depressed, and then going backwards. I have spent too many years with Dave Ramsey screaming inside my head, you idiot! I showed you how to get out. I showed you how to motivate, and now you're going backwards with all these stupid excuses. I have spent too many years with him in my head. Here is a hurdle. Here is an opportunity for me to mess this up and to take that $3,000 and put it somewhere else. Do something interesting with it. And I thought, if I'm going to be serious and continue and succeed this time, I must do the boring thing and pay off that $3,000 student loan. And if I do that, I know I'll be serious about my behavior and I will succeed. And I did it. I paid off the loan. For once in my life, I made the adult decision and decided not to be that fit-throwing kid going to the bank of mom and dad, trying to get them to pay for something that I couldn't afford. I knew I couldn't afford to do anything with that $3,000, but put it towards a boring debt. I didn't see any payment fall off, but man, when I paid it off, I did get relief, and I thought, yes, I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And do you know what that did for me? Several months later, we're now in present day, that allowed me to sit here and say, you know what? I'm 4 years out from paying off $40,000. I'm 4 years away from that, which means I'm going to be 45 before I kick that debt. I don't have any retirement. That's too long. And I thought, if I work 12 hours a week extra, I can shorten that up to 2 years. And I just felt really awful about it. I felt so stressed, and I thought, I can't do that. I can't do that. I cannot maintain 2 years of extra work. I don't think I can. Well, what if I shorten it? If I take things and I shorten it up, I can sprint. I can sprint. Recently, I went and got my ham radio license, the first one. If you don't know anything about it and you want to look it up, go ahead. But it involves studying to pass a test, okay, to enter a new hobby. And so I had tried many times over the years to do this, okay, and I failed because it took too long to study, okay. So I went and actually created my own study guide, and I shortened my study time up to a 3-day sprint, and I went and passed the test with like a 98%. I knew that if I dragged it out, I would never do it. And I wanted to do it. It's the same thing here. I realized if I went from 12 hours a week to 24 hours a week, averaging 84 hours a month extra of work, I could bring that down to a 1 year, and I would have that 40 grand kicked. Now that starts in December. I'm working extra now, but that's because I have some expenses along with heating the house and things like that. So that starts in December. One of the things that I'm worried about is the time from now to December, which is only a couple of weeks. I'm worried because I'm afraid I'm going to lose interest because I won't see those debts getting paid off. That is a worry. And one of my protections against that is me telling you right now about that worry. So I'm going to do 1 episode per week that I work extra, which will be every week. And I'm going to let you know come December if I'm still working extra and I am still making progress on this debt. And you will be able to see where I am. Now, I'm going to tell you, fast forward, I'm doing this. And you can too. We only got through baby step 1 and 2. So come back next week and we're going to talk about more about how I failed the first time around and how you can succeed. Remember, it's behavior. Modify your behavior before it's too late and the fire of financial ruin burns you alive. I'll see you next week.